Gavin mentioned at the Rotary about Jared possibly not playing this year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be my call to be his. But he's doing individual work right now. He's not started practicing, so we'll let it play out. And if he thinks it's good for him to play, then he will play.
What is the difference between the individual work and practice? I mean, is he capable of practicing and he's just trying to get up to condition?
Probably could if he were in the kind of shape he needed to be in. But you go step at a time with this stuff. You don't just, throw him in and say start.
John, now that you have some practice time, some time in between games, what are you focusing on?
We're probably experimenting a little bit more than just preparing for the next game. So we're trying some different things, and both on defense and offensively, trying to. The amazing thing is that we're an efficient team being this young, which is surprising. We still turn it over too much. We don't rebound as well as we really should, and so we've zeroed in on that some. But you want to make sure as a group what's the best way for us to play, and then trying to individually look at guys and say, where do we put them, what spots, how do we put them in situations where they can be their best.
When you look at this first stretch of games, what guys have really kind of stood out in terms of maybe being the leaders or role players that?
There's still, that thing's shaking out and it's not there yet. But I'd like to see that we have 5, 6, 7 guys who can step into leadership roles if they need to. But that's just going to happen over time. But I think all of them have gotten better. I mean, we've gotten better as a team, and they've gotten better as individual players, which is how you get better as a team. Individuals start playing better, and they're doing that. But it's you just can't. You're not skipping steps. You're not forcing it more than it is. We are where we are right now, and now it's okay. How do we continue to get better?
Is there any player that you challenge to step up and become a leader?
You can't. It evolves. So I could want this guy to be a leader, but they don't want to follow that kid. They want to follow this kid. So it kind of evolves. Teach them all what it means to lead. You serve everyone if you want to lead. That you got to be one of the first ones out there and the last one to leave. You've got to want to be coached and let them see that you're working hard and that you're about them. That you're not just about yourself. Can't lead if that's who you are.
John, you guys, the players here today after the game, and you talked about how well you guys played in the last game. It was an uptick. And I'm wondering how susceptible do you think these guys are to letting that go to their heads?
I don't know, but I said it before. If we had beaten Kansas, we were up 1 with a minute to go. If we'd beaten them, what would that have done to this team? I'm not so sure. Would we have lost one of these other games? Possibly. We'd have been number 2 in the country. We're not number 2 in the country. We're not that team. Now let's hope by the end of the year we're that team. We're not that team right now. And so, you go through the season and they learn about each other. They learn about themselves. We as a coach learn, and that's why you play games. I kind of like how the schedule's playing out. We're one of those teams that plays 2 neutral events, probably one of the few. But then we have 4 games in a row that all 4 of them are games you can lose all 4. You got a road game, and I say a road game at the Garden coming up. You got this game with Harvard that's a team that's well coached, and you've got a couple players on this team that could have gone other places. A couple of them could have gone SEC. They just chose to go to Harvard. So, it's not, that game's not easy. We'll see.
John, I heard you on the Hardball podcast. You were talking about recruiting, and you actually sounded like you still enjoyed that part of coaching. I mean, you're old, you got a bad back. How can you convince us?
No, I don't have a bad back. I had 2 hips replaced, but no bad back.
How can you convince us that you really do enjoy that aspect?
Well, the way you can enjoy recruiting is enjoy meeting people and enjoy their story and hearing their story about where they've come from as a family and how hard it's been in most cases. And then you look and say, now, how does this work together? How can we help you become your best version? And sometimes they agree with it's Kentucky, and other times they don't agree it's Kentucky. But at the same sense, we don't take it personal. There was a text I got from Kyle Wilshire to my wife, Kyle Wilshire, that he wishes he was close enough to make her brownies or send them. Kyle Wilshire transferred from here, yet he stays in touch. We don't make this personal, it's about these kids. And I think, again, us going through there are things that, you know, I don't enjoy about it, you know, where, you know, people are trying to create an image of what we are or what I am, and then you have to, like, you're really asking me if I care about kids? I mean, you know, there's things that I don't enjoy, but much more enjoyment when I'm meeting families, hearing their stories, and I enjoy that part of it.
You talked about transfers. A couple of yours, Charles Matthews and Marcus,
Doing good.
They've had some good games.
Yeah,
You
they're
keep
playing
in
good.
touch with those guys?
Oh yeah, Charles has hit me, Marcus has not, but I'm following both and want them to both play well. Again, it's, you know, if a young man says, I think it would be better for me to be somewhere else, and I don't agree, I may talk to him and say, well, here's what I think, and he says, well, it's not, and at the end, it's his life, and it's his opportunity to do what he chooses. I'm good with it. How many kids have we really had transfer in my 30 years of coaching? A handful. A handful. But those kids, you know, you just don't take it personal. It's their life. It's not a personal thing at me. And if they choose to do that, I'm not going to begrudge them, and I want them to do well.
What does Harvard do well that'll test you, Sam?
One, they have great post play. They, again, just like Vermont, you know, the other teams that we've had that have had good post play, they really explore it. They'll play fast. Their point guard has a green light to go, and he can get in the lane. They deny wings. They make catches on the elbows hard. So again, with a young team, the last team did that, and we had to work on getting open and knowing how when the guy's face guarding him. Well, they didn't know any of that, so we had to spend a couple days. Now we're just addressing it again and saying this is how they're going to play. And Tommy's he's as good as they get, and he has a great way about how he coaches and how he gets his teams to play well.
Today is Coach Hall's birthday, and can you describe the relationship that you two have and how important that is for him to be around the program?
Well, he's been a great supporter of mine, and love seeing him in the gym, love hearing what his thoughts. You know, he's not, I've been blessed that I've had guys that have never tried to overwhelm me or, you know, be over opinionated, but I listen to their opinions. Jack Lehman, if he wanted me to do something, he'd say, let's go get a cup of coffee. That meant, I want to talk to you about your team. And he wouldn't say anything until I said, tell me what you think. And then he'd talk for 30 minutes. And Coach Hall's kind of the same way. You know, if I ask him, he's going to tell me. He called, we talked the other day, and we were talking about guard play, and he says, this is what you're trying to do, isn't it? And I said, yeah. And he said, that's what I thought. And so, you know, it's good. And you know, he's in this community, you know, he's one of those guys that, who else would have followed Adolph Rupp here? Dude had to follow Adolph Rupp. And what he's done for this university, this state, Cynthiana, he deserves our adulation, and that's what we do. And the same, when I love it when he does the Y and people go crazy on his birthday, they're singing happy birthday. You know, he deserves all that. He earned it.
Is that something you enjoy, keeping former players and former coaches around the program, even if they weren't necessarily your players? Some coaches don't like that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Now some were trying to convince that that's not who I am, and I've kind of been this way for 30 years. It's hard to lie for 30 years. You try, but it's not a good. It's a hard thing to do. So having former players to let them know this is their program, and we're here carrying on their tradition, and they're always welcome in here, and I've been blessed to have, again, a Joe B. Hall, a Jack Lehman, even at Memphis when you were trying to come into a situation, Gene Bartow, who was one of the great gentlemen, but he was good to me when he was at UAB and treated me like, it's kind of like you didn't know why was he being so kind, but he always was kind to me, even before I got to Memphis. But I've been blessed in that way, and hopefully, they know, and the former players know, and my own players know. They're welcome here. I said I was on the phone with Derrick Rose for 40, 50 minutes the other night. He and I just talking about life in general and different things, and if you're doing this for any other reason, would you look at the end of your life and say, man, I just wasted 60 years? I mean, you think about it. If your legacy is how many wins I have or national championships, and then you're laying there thinking, what in the world did I do this? Versus, how do you make it about, how do you leverage your position to help them do, which is what I've tried to do. But not always successful, but I've tried.
2 more quick ones, guys.
Where are you encouraged after this stretch? I mean, you're just kind of looking at how things have evolved with this team.
I'm encouraged that if we choose to be a great defensive team, we can. And if you look at any other young teams in the country that are trying to win at a high level, they're just trying to outscore people because they're not great defensive teams. They're just not. We're trying to do it the other way. Let's be a great defensive team. Let's be a great rebounding team. And then we're not forced to have to outscore people. The problem is at the end of the year, when you got 6 games, you may hit a game where you go 3 for 30 from the 3, and then you lose. You may hit a game where it's just one of those games you're not making shots. Or you do score 80, but they score 83, you lose. So what we're trying to do, and then there are times you cannot run. They call a walk on the other team. You're not going to believe this. They're all 5 going to be back there. It's not going to be 5 versus 3. They're back there. Now you got to grind it a little bit. You got to be willing to move it side to side a little bit before you try to score. You got to be able to play that way. You're up 15, 4 minutes to go. You keep playing fast? Okay. You better make every shot, because if you miss 5 in a row, now all of a sudden you're going to look up, it's 4, and then you're going to miss free throws. And then all of a sudden you just lost based on the fact that you couldn't grind it. And that's what we're trying to teach this team. It's really hard. But that's what I've tried to do historically, that we're going to play fast, but we need to grind it out or the game looks ugly and we need to pull back the reins. They know how to play.
John, what do you think of every time Brad touches the ball, the fans are yelling, shoot, shoot, he could be 35 feet from the basket. What do you think of that? Is that helpful?
Well, one thing I told him, I thought he could have shot one ball. I said, why the heck didn't you shoot it? And he said, I just stepped in the game. And I said, good comment. Because do you really want a guy walking in the game, catching the ball and shooting a 30-footer? No. So he's trying to play basketball. He wants to be a basketball player. He wants to prove that he could be on the court and help his team win. And I appreciate that in him. He deserves to play, but maybe not in front of these guys. Like, he works hard enough to deserve to get on that court, but the problem is he got some guys in front of him that are pretty good. But he's been, it's been great for me to watch and be a part of, and day to day, and text me today, and why didn't I get breakfast in bed? What happened? No one brought me breakfast in bed. And, I enjoy walking in the gym and seeing him. I really do. Thanks.